Hi everybody, and welcome to today's live demonstration of Fuzor. So today we'll be taking a look at Fuzor's BIM functionality features and how they can help you streamline your workflow process, help you to better communicate your project, not only with clients but also with colleagues. And if I said this in a previous presentation, but basically I just want to go over again that the primary challenge that's always facing the AEC industry is how to manage change, and even sudden change for that matter. Now, in terms of just what happens with those changes can create delays, and delays can cost time and money. And turnaround time depends not only on the expediency of the work to be done, but also on how quickly any changes can be communicated to the necessary parties. So the question becomes, how do you apply and communicate your changes in a timely and professional manner? Well, Fuzor is the answer for that. With Fuzor, you can quickly and cleanly convey the results of your work to colleagues and clients alike. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up another project here really quickly. Let's go ahead and open up Revit. Yeah, let me close a couple of things down here that don't need to be there. There we go. So one of the biggest challenges among visualization programs, for those that have used them before, is the ability to retain project information when translating your project into 3D. Go ahead and drag this one over, let that one open up. So often project information will get lost, the two primary cases being textures and object metadata. And especially in the case of textures, this project was gifted to us, so I don't necessarily have all the custom textures since we're on the subject. Often in the case of textures, that reapplying those can be a time-consuming process, requiring a lot of remapping and a lot of tedious work to try to get those back again. And also, once projects are moved into a 3D visualization software, the end result may not possess the flexibility you need to handle new challenges in a timely manner. Fuzor, on the other hand, with Fuzor we take a little bit of a different approach. Fuzor's engine was custom built for the AEC industry. With Fuzor, accuracy is one of our main goals. As you can see, what we have right here is a Revit project. I'll go ahead, I'm sure you probably recognize this interface. I'm going to go ahead and pop that into 3D. And this is basically what your project looks like in Revit. Let's go hidden line, make that a little easier to see. There we go. Now with Fuzor's simple interface, it's quick and easy to transfer your project, textures, metadata, and all directly into Fuzor. Let's go over to Fuzor. I can hit the Launch Fuzor button, and I can even attach link files. Under here, you're going to see something that's actually we're working on right now, and that's the 2D overlay for floor plans. So it's coming soon. Just want to let you know. I'm going to turn that off for now to speed up the export process. But I've got my file here. I've checked off my linked files. Just going to go ahead and click OK. And give that a second to calculate and pop up into Fuzor. Now I just want to give you a little background on this one. Again, this was a project that was gifted to us. I don't necessarily have all the custom texture paths, but all the textures that are in here have already been applied within Revit. As I was saying, Fuzor is very much about accuracy. So you'll see that when this kicks over, first thing it's going to do is you're going to see a synchronization bar in the bottom. The first 100% is synced over your geometry. Once it hits the second 100%, that'll mean all your textures have been linked over. Also, if you have custom views, custom 3D views, Fuzor can also handle those specifically by different views. So if you have a couple of different setups, I can show you an example of that later if you'd like, but you can actually select a separate 3D view and it'll load that instead with that specific setup. So as I said, I'm loading up this project. It was given to us by one of our clients. The geometry's already been loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and kick over to free camera mode while it synchronizes the textures. But as you can see, Fuzor cleanly and accurately outputs your fully visualized project with all metadata and textures intact. Now when I say metadata, a lot of times you lose a lot of the BIM information when transferring into other programs. With Fuzor, click on an object. Let me minimize this right here. You can just click on it. Oops, there we go. With Fuzor, I can just click on an object. And as you can see in the element properties window, all my metadata is retained. Render material, all my different characteristics. And so that's all transmitted directly from Revit or whatever your authoring software may be. I say authoring software because we're also currently working on integration with ArchiCAD as well. Now, one of the major benefits of Fuzor is that it allows you to handle change quickly. Now, our patent pending live link feature connects you directly to your authoring software. So with Live Link active, if you still have changes to make, Fuzor will let you see those changes update in real time. Let me go ahead and show you what I mean on that. Let's go and put these side by side. Now, I'm sure sometimes you've seen things in 3D and you realize sometimes in Revit it can be kind of difficult to locate a specific object on a specific drawing. Fuzor makes that pretty easy. With the BIM information given, let's say I want to find this chair. You go ahead and click that one, and while I'm linked to my Revit file, just click Edit. As you can see in the Revit window, it's already located my floor plan and my object right there. Now I was talking about the Fuzor's Live Link feature. It connects you directly to the authoring software. With Live Link active, if you make changes in your drawing, you'll see them automatically update from within Fuzor. Now, unlike other software, Fuzor can also go one step further than that. Fuzor supports, with our Live Link feature, we also support what's called sync back. So let's say, let's not select those. Let's say I want to do something different with these. Actually, let's do this. Let's say I want to, let's give you one more demonstration of the forward sync feature. Let's say I want to have these, and I'd rather have them rotated 90 degrees. Oops. Let's say I have that, and you can see it update in Fuzor. Well, let's say instead I see this in 3D, and I realize, you know what, I want to give it a little more space here. I'm going to go ahead and select all these objects in Fuzor, and I'm going to go ahead and refit those in Fuzor. So let's say I want to back it out this way a little more, a little bit over, give myself a little bit more space to the wall. Actually, let's kick it over this way really quickly. Let's go a little more that way. I've made those changes in Fuzor, but obviously I want those to transfer back. With Fuzor, I can use the sync back feature. Now, by clicking Request Sync Back in my Fuzor plugin tab, I can see all the changes that I made from within Fuzor. I can select all. I can selectively choose whichever ones I want. In this case, I'm going to select all, and I'm going to go ahead and say Sync Selected. And as you can see, in Revit, it's already made that change right there for me. I can even go ahead and click the View button. It'll zoom me in on what that specific change was. So, like I was saying, with the sync back feature, Fuzor can show you all changes made within the program and let you selectively select which changes to bring back. And what that does is it gives you the flexibility. It speeds up your turnaround time, and it also helps you better visualize those important spatial relationships. Also, for those of you who have multi-phase projects, I don't actually have an example. Well, I think this one might have a very elementary example of it, but Fuzor also does support phase filtering. So if you have different phases of your project, you should be able to switch between them. I'm not entirely sure how this one is. Oh, there we go. Let's try. Where are we? Yeah. So if you have different phases of your project, you can actually switch them through. So that's just the basic jumping off point for Fuzor. Now that you have a basic idea how Fuzor links up with your authoring software, let's start digging into Fuzor's BIM features. Now, one of the most commonly asked about is clash detection. Also, just to back up a second here, I just want to let you know that even without your authoring software, Fuzor can save out into an individual cache file. So that's what I'm about to open up for you right now. So I'm going to go ahead and close out Revit. And hello, you. And let's open up, let's say the powerhouse model. That'll work. Now, as I was saying, let's say you have a project that you've already got up and you've saved it out in Fuzor, or maybe it's in LiveLink right now, and you want to make sure that, let's say, your MEP systems aren't colliding with your structural members. Well, let's let this thing load up, and first off, let's get a better look at what those systems are going to look like by going to our visibility controls. Give you kind of an idea, this is about a 400 some odd Revit project that's been brought into Fuzor, so pretty expansive. I'm going to focus primarily on the Science Center over here. This is another project that was gifted to us. So as I was saying, let's jump over to the visibility controls. First, just for my own edification, I want to see what these systems look like. I'm going to go ahead and turn off everything I don't need except for the site. And let's go ahead and turn off the parking structure. Let's turn you off. Don't need you right now. Let's turn off the power station. Don't need you right now. And let's look specifically at the Science Center. So with the Science Center, there's a couple of things I actually want to look at against each other. First off, like I said, I was trying to do the pipes inducting against the structural. So just to get an idea what those look like, I'm going to turn everything off on that one and just turn on ducts and pipes. And for the structural, let's turn everything off except for the structural members. And I don't have to worry about the foundations right now. This is a fairly incomplete project. So this was donated to us, so the systems aren't complete. That being said, you may have a very complex project. It may be hard to tell one part or one system from another. So to help you sort of visually designate, and let's just adjust my sunlight here a little bit. Let's leave where it was. That's fine. So just to help you visually designate between one system and another, Fuzor also offers the ability for color override. So let's say I want to be able to designate, I can't see very well where my piping and ducting are. I'll go over here to this little palette button, and I'm going to go ahead and make my ducts sort of a cyan color. Let's go ahead and kick my pipes over to a red. Yeah, I know, normally fire suppression, but just to give you an idea, let it stand out a little bit. So I can go ahead and drop my avatar down here. And as you can see, it's really easy to visually designate one system from another, just so you can have a pretty good idea. Now, on a side note, you also, with the color override control, you also have the ability to change your alphas. So if you don't prefer the color override, if you'd rather fade something away so you can see through a wall, that's also a possibility. Just to let you know it's there, I can demonstrate that in a second here. Actually, I'll just do it right now. You also have you can select by system as before, or you can actually select an individual element, go to your element properties, and I can just tone down my alpha to make that particular set of elements transparent. I'm not going to do that right now, so I'll go ahead and turn that off there. Now, while this function isn't really necessary for clash detection, it really helps me kind of understand where my systems are going. So now that we've done that, I'm just going to go ahead and step out of the building here. Don't have to, but I'm going to, and I'm going to go ahead and run a clash detection. So to run a clash detection, I'm just going to go ahead and switch over to my clash manager. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new clash detection report. As you can see, you have different selections in there. You can select multiple systems, you can select individual systems, you can even select individual components. Now I was saying I wanted to test my structural members against my piping and ductwork. Oops. Like I said, you can select individual members, so these do all expand outward. I'm going to just do all the entire system right now. So once I've selected what I want to compare against each other, I can set my tolerance. It's fine where it is. I can choose metric or imperial. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit run test. As you can see, in a fraction of a second, I've got over 104 different clashes. Now I can select anything within my clash manager here, and it will take me directly to that clash. I can actually move around it, take a look at where it is. For those of you who don't prefer the transparency look, we do have the option for wireframe, if that's something that you're more used to. And again, I can switch between different clashes, showing each of the individual ones. Also, if I maneuver around and I switch away from and back to that, you'll be able to actually hold that camera position, which is really good in a minute when I show you the report generation. So as you can see, this is basically the simple and easy setup for clash detection. You can set up your different colors for objects 1 and 2. We've also recently incorporated different fields. We actually have assignment fields, status fields, due dates. Assigner is going to be set to whoever ran the clash detection report, and you see the date modified. The designator is over here. If it's red, it's new. If it's yellow, it's been looked at but hasn't been resolved. And if you were to resolve that clash within Fuzor or within Revit, or whatever your authoring software may be, you would see that turn to green if the clash was resolved. So it'll actually update in real time. I highly recommend actually editing in the authoring software, as entire systems will actually react. Now I was talking about the different fields. Let's say I assign this clash to, okay, for now I'm just going to call it me. And let's say me. And let's call this you. And let's say these ones are active and these ones are reviewed. Now, what we've also incorporated recently into our clash detection report, I'm going to flip this over to transparency just because it's easier to see the interface. What that'll do is we actually have recently incorporated filtering into our clash interface. So it can group, as you can see, by assigned to, by stage, by status. And that just helps you better organize your clash reports, better to communicate those. Once you're done looking through those, if you've got the clash reports all tallied out, who they're going to go to and everything, you can actually run a report. You have the option of doing this in either a text file or an HTML file. Now, personally, I recommend the HTML file for the reason I had actually mentioned earlier. I was talking about how you can move around to a specific view and it'll retain that view. Let's go ahead and generate an HTML report, and I'm just going to overwrite this one. As you can see, the HTML report will actually take screenshots of every single clash, and it'll generate it out in a simple, easy-to-read clash report that will give you all your pertinent information, assigned to fields, stage, status, who's assigned it, and who it's assigned to, and at the very tail end, we also have the tag fields. So if you want to tag that with anything specific, if it's something that needs to be dealt with now or later, or if it's fire suppression, it's fire suppression, you can actually tag that with whatever you'd like on there, or if you just need to draw attention to it in general. Now something was suggested to us before, and that's the ability to actually narrow down saying which fields you'd actually want to include in the report, and that is, just to give you guys a heads up, that is something we are looking into. But as you can see, clash detection is a quick and simple process, and it's intuitive. And using Fuzor's clash detection, this can easily be integrated into your existing workflow. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this right now. So let's take a step over something different. Now let's say you're designing room lighting, or perhaps approaching the construction of a room, and you want to know what the effect would be on the room if you change the color temperature and intensity of your lights. So for that demonstration, I'm going to go ahead and pop over to a different file. Let's go ahead and close this out, and let's go here. I had mentioned Fuzor's ability to save out cache files. Cache files can also be synchronized back to your software, so that you don't have to worry about continuously reloading your project every time you want to take a look at it. And it's a lot faster on the load time, especially for larger files. Now, just to give you a better view of what the lighting in this room looks like, let's go ahead and kick this over to nighttime. Now, I actually adjusted these lights before because I like them better in this particular context. But let's say you don't necessarily want to keep people awake at night, and you also want to, dim it down. I can actually select my lights using the real-time lighting adjustment property. I can actually adjust that light. Let's kick the intensity back down to, let's say, around 1200, and let's give that a little warmer glow to it. Okay, I sort of like where that is. Now let's say I want to see that applied to an entire family of lights. I can go ahead and check a box, and I can actually adjust the entire family at the same time. So I'll bring the temperature down to about 18, 19. That's about standard. That's really low. I should take that back. I'm going to bring that back a little warmer. So as I was saying, Fuzor offers the ability to update your lighting in real time, making changes to a single light or an entire family of lights, and you can see that effect in real time. Now, that said, I'm going to go ahead and accept that. Sometimes looking at the change isn't good enough. Sometimes you might want numerics. In that instance, that's where Fuzor's light report function comes into play. Just going to walk out of the room here just to get a better idea of the scope of that. So Fuzor's light report function accesses your authoring software's preset room designations. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump over to lighting reports. As you can see, my list of rooms is already designated out here. In this case, I want to take a look at the kitchen. So if I click kitchen, you can see where it's going to test that from. If you don't particularly like that room scale, Fuzor actually allows you to adjust that. So let's say I want to bring that up a little bit higher. Oops, that's a little bit lower. Actually, might have been a bit much. So let's say you want to adjust that room a little bit higher, a little bit wider, whatever you want to do for your basic assessment. You actually have the ability to customize your room size. Currently, we're working out calculations with sunlight right now. So right now, it's going to measure strictly just the room without incorporating sunlight at the moment. But you can also adjust your sensor direction. You can manually input or adjust your sensor height. Let's say if it's a classroom and you want to see what the light's like at desk level when your students are sitting, you can do that. You can also adjust the spacing either with a slider or manually for how often your points are taken. And once you've got everything done there, you can go ahead and add, and you can generate your report. Now, sometimes the reports can take a bit long. I'm not going to go ahead and generate that. Instead, to save some time, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up what a previously done light report looks like. So as you can see, it's just a really easy to read, I believe it's PNG format. Yes, it is. So it's an image diagram with your output and foot candles, so you can see what the assessment is of the room. As you can see, there's a little bit warmer on certain sides there. This is getting a lot of the overflow from the room next to it, which is actually back over there. I'm going to go ahead and gather. So you can see where the two lights are actually flooding into that one particular area. And so you get an idea of how this is just going to really quickly show that. Also, for those of you who have photometric data, Fuzor also does apply photometric IES photometric webs. So those are also available. If they're in your authoring software, they'll also transfer through. And I just showed you what the reports would look like. So just to kind of summarize, with real-time lighting adjustment analysis, if you have theoretical or last-minute changes that need to be visualized and calculated on the fly, this grants you the freedom not only to show potentially beneficial changes, but also give you the hard numbers back to verify them. Now, the original subject was not only BIM, but also how to help communicate that. So let's say you like this one the way it is right now. I'm actually going to walk the avatar out of the room. Actually, you know what? Let me show you something really quickly instead. So my avatar's in the room. Let's say I just want to get him out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and hide him. Now let's say I like this room right where it is. Let me go to free camera this thing. and I want to convey this to either a client or another coworker, get a second opinion, or send this off to the client, say they ask for the lighting to be a little bit less. Fuzor has the option for high definition screenshots. We have about 5 different resolutions to choose from. There's the really good resolution, 3840 by 2160, or there's what I like to call the plaster across the wall resolution of 15,000 pixels, which is kind of ridiculous. I've done it before. I don't think I ever need an image that big, but it's there in case you really need it, just giving you a heads up. So you can quickly just give you a demonstration. Let's say I have a screenshot here. I can go ahead and take a screenshot. I can drop that to, actually let's drop that to the desktop. There we go. And let's go ahead and see what the desktop was. I believe that was this one. And you can take that image and you can just quickly send it over to your colleague or your client. Now, the way that is, maybe you don't necessarily like that, so just to let you know, you do have different features for color adjustment, for focus, and otherwise. So you want to blur out the room and back, it's possible to do that. You can you can raise or lower your saturation, change your white point to make it warmer or cooler, and basically give your colleagues and clients a sense of what your vision is for that particular one. So that's just kind of a easy way to communicate that. And again, the reports are also in a simple image format, so if somebody needs an actual numeric report, you can easily send those ones out to whoever you need to. It makes communication of your project very easy. So I'm going to go ahead and load up really quickly. I'm going to load up Powerhouse one more time. Let's not save the changes to that one. And let's see. What can I eat for you here? What's a good one? What am I doing to? Okay, sorry about that. Let's go measurement tool. So I'm going to go ahead and load up this one. So let's say you're approaching design approval phase. Now, to avoid potential delays, you probably want to do some of your own checks, because nothing can be quite as upsetting as getting your project delayed because of minor oversights that you didn't necessarily have to send something out for approval or get it double checked, or somebody sends it back to you saying we can't approve this until something as simple as an ADA clearance is addressed. So Fuzor offers actually a host of validation and analysis tools to help you with that validation process. Just going to go ahead and drop my avatar over here. And let's just take a walk over here. Just walking a little slow and speed him up a bit. Okay, so as I was saying, Fuzor offers an essential set of measurement tools. So let's go ahead and go over to those. To use them, all you really need to do is select which measurement you particularly want and just start clicking wherever you decide. If I want to, say, check the ADA clearance of a parking space, I can use my 2-point tool. So just really quick idea, I can actually click from here to over here. Just get a pretty good idea. It's about 8'9". I can't remember what the actual clearance is for an ADA compliant parking space, but I know doorways are minimum 32 inches, so I can check on that. Let's say I want to look at vertical clearance. Obviously I want to see if I can get a van in here. So I can actually use my perpendicular measurement. I can go ahead and click and I can drag to wherever I want, and let's say this is about 8'4". Now for fairly tall vehicles that may not necessarily work. So that's something else I could look into. So let's go ahead and take a walk over here, or take a run. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. And let's switch this over, give myself a little something easier to see. That's better. If you're wondering what I'm doing with the sunlight, Fuzor actually has the ability to adjust sunlight not only by time of day but also by location. So let's say I went to Brisbane, Australia. I can actually see the effects of sunlight depending on where my location is. If it's a major city, I can put that in there. If it's someplace that hasn't been developed, I can actually apply actual longitude and latitude. I can even check by time of year. So it's really good for using that for assessments on sun studies, how light and shadow are going to affect your project. Okay, back to the measurement tools. Let's say I want to, let's say I check parking spaces, talked about doorways. I can check for equipment clearances around corners, so I know whether or not I need to add an access port. So maybe, and I already checked on vertical clearances, so let's say I have a planter box and I want to look for sprinkler coverage, or if I want to look for just coverage in general, I can actually use my area measurement tool and I can figure out exactly how much is in that particular area. Let me use my mini-map over here and jump a little bit. I can actually click on my mini-map and navigate. Another thing I can do with my measurement tools is, let's say I have a new speaker or surround sound, or like a system for this particular area that I need to install, PA or otherwise, and I just want to take a quick measurement, just kind of make an estimate for wiring. Let's say I have wiring I want to run up this wall and then over, and I want to launch it over here. So as you can see, it's 31 feet 6 inches, just a really quick way to do that. And I can get rid of one or all of these by just selecting them and toggle the IDs, and I'm just going to get rid of all of those right now. So that's just a quick and simple overview of the measurement tools. I kind of prefer this with that look. There we go. Now, once I'm done, if I don't want to get rid of those measurements, I can always save out my cache file again, and it'll save the measurements in there. Or I can delete them as you saw. Now, what if I need to scale that up a bit? Let's say I don't want to have to take individual measurements. You saw in the parking garage. Let's go ahead and move over there. And let's speed my camera up a little bit, make this a little faster. You saw in the parking garage over here that I had taken that vertical measurement. Let's say I don't want to have to go through every single beam and check for what the clearance might be. Yeah, or let's say I need to just basically check vertical clearance for other things, such as sometimes you're in a project and your clearance seems okay until you realize that the MEP is actually going to drop your ceiling down a little lower, and you need to make sure that you still have the proper clearance in your hallways. Like I was talking about earlier, in this case I'm going to use the parking structure to demonstrate just vertical clearance checks. Now, if I want to check that, I could do it the hard way. And just to kind of give you a demonstration over here, let's say I pop my avatar into a vehicle. Oops. And pardon me, I'm a terrible driver, but yeah, terrible 3D driver, but actually let's just drop him over here instead. So like I said, I can do it the hard way, and I can try to drive up here and whack. So obviously I'm not going to be able to check past the first beam, so that's really not an option. That was mostly for comedic value. I hope you all appreciate that. Instead, what we can do is use something new to Fuzor 2016, which is our height clearance feature. Just give you a better view on this thing here really quickly. So this is our parking structure. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my visibility tools I showed you earlier, and let's just show you just the parking structure. And let's go ahead and turn the site foliage off too while we're at it. So let's say I want to check an entire building for height clearance. I can actually go over to my measurement tools, and I can go over to my height clearance feature. With height clearance, I basically set my check height. Currently it's in meters. We're working on expanding that to imperial. But right now it's set to a height of 2.5 meters. Minimum threshold basically means it won't check for gaps anywhere under that height. So I'm basically checking for anything that hits between 1 and 2.5 meters. And again, the spacing will be your basic check for how often you're sampling. So all I got to do is quickly hit the calculate button there. And as you can see, it's already listed for me all my clearance issues right now. I can, again, click these out. And like the Clash management system, I can generate a report with thumbnail documents. And so as you can see, this entire structure, and this is probably part of the reason this project never got approved, is there are a lot of clearance issues throughout the entire this entire structure right here. And again, I can generate a clearance report with thumbnails. Wait a second, and there we go. 88 different instances complete with images. Of course, you know, it's great to be able to go through and check each of these individual things as you go, but at times there will be certain elements that maybe either are outside of your purview or you actually need to reference them out to someone else. Oops. Let's go ahead really quickly here. Looks like I left my measurements on, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that one. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and drop myself in over here really quickly. So as I was saying, maybe this is somebody else's part of the project, and you know, you're looking at walking space or clearance space, and you realize, let's say, hey, these light bollards would probably be better off outside the path. But let's say that's not necessarily your area where you're supposed to be making changes. Fuzor actually offers an annotation system, so that if you have an item that still needs attention called to it, you can go ahead and make an annotation complete with management fields and send that out. All you need to do is click on an object. If it's clickable, you can annotate it, and then go ahead and click on the annotation button. As you can see, what you're annotating is highlighting. You can put your title in there. Let's say bollards. For the author field, for the author field, by default it's going to put in whatever your computer's name is that you log in with. You can change that to whatever the author is, or if you were given something to annotate, then you can actually put the author of the annotation in there. You can put an assignment field. Next couple are actually automated, and you can actually set your required by date. So if you want to actually change this to you need your answer within 3 to 7 days, or you need it by a certain time, you can go ahead and set that. For your category issue, you can even add attachments. I'm just going to go ahead and attach that just to show you something there. And you can go ahead and save that out. And you also have the ability, just to give you a heads up, you can do multiple attachments. As you can see on the project, your annotations are highlighted in red. I can go over to my annotation manager. I can turn those off and on. But let's say I am currently somewhere else on the project. I can go into my annotation manager. I can look at each of the individual annotations. It will jump me right back to that. I can make edits. I can view attachments. I can save it out, and that will. And once I'm done with it, either save, cancel, or delete. It will jump me back to my original position. That's just a quick overview of the annotation manager. And those annotations can also be saved out or loaded. Just so you know, the ANO file that you save out, if you happen to have the Revit or your authoring software open, you'll also see the ability to load annotations within that. Let me see if I can pop something open with that really quickly. I can probably give you a better idea with this really quickly here. So let me go through that again really quickly, just to give you a better idea how versatile and how easy it is to communicate using the annotations feature. Now, I showed you earlier, I just launched this thing to Fuzor. For now, yeah, well, actually, let's just go ahead and load them all up, and I'll turn that off. Give me a moment here, I'm just going to really quickly load this up. And And ignore 2 extra paths one more time. While it's loading up, I just want to show you in the Fuzor plugin you have the ability to load the annotations also into your authoring software. Now that's all very functional because the annotation file you save out of Fuzor can both be loaded back into Fuzor but also into your annotation software. And it can serve much the same function. So let's just go ahead and duck over here to free camera while it's trying to load the rest of those. And let's just go ahead and click this, make an annotation really quickly. And I'm just going to put something in here really fast just to demonstrate for you. So let's say I go over to my annotation manager. Let's save that as annotation 1. Now I have the ability to load them into Fuzor again. No, I don't want to keep current annotations. And it will save that annotation to where it is. Let's cancel out of that. Now the other thing too is I also have the ability to load that same annotation. Oops. Let's see where we are here. Into my authoring software. That'll pop up Fuzor's annotation window. I can go ahead and say highlight annotation, hide annotation. As you can see, it highlights it right on the screen for me. If I had multiple annotations, I could actually switch between them. I can also view the attachments for that annotation directly through my authoring software. So that just kind of gives you an idea of the versatility of the annotation system through Fuzor. Okay. So again, with Fuzor's validation and communication features, you can basically preemptively locate and deal with potential issues, hopefully before they become delays. And with all the other tools that I've shown you, these can be easily communicated and the issues can be easily communicated and easy to use. And again, this is just a small part of what Fuzor can do. So that's kind of a basic overview of the general BIM features available in Fuzor. And again, this file is taken straight out of Revit, so basically the entire thing, the entire project is basically BIM information. So there are several different ways you can use it, several different features that will also utilize a lot of the same similar information.